Hey friends, it's Jay Rye. Thanks for coming back to the channel. It's Jay Rye World and Jay Rye World Disney on YouTube. I'm excited but also saddened for today's episode because we're talking about the closure of Splash Mountain. It closed in Florida first, and now it just closed in Anaheim. The original, the one that started it all, the best one, of course. And to talk about this, I brought my friend DJ Quest. What's up, Quest?
What's up, brother?
Hey. So Quest and I know each other from Big Boy's Neighborhood. He's the DJ there every morning. And even more than that, we know each other from our Disney nerd out conversations.
Yes.
Wouldn't you say?
Yeah.
So we're going to attempt to focus on the closing of Splash Mountain. But let me ask you a question. Uh, you're significantly younger than I am, but what do you first remember about Splash Mountain? Like, do you remember the first time or when it opened or any of that?
I remember going on it when I was very, very young. I remember bits and pieces of the interior of the ride, but I definitely remember that drop.
Oh yeah.
I was very young. I was young enough to only be able to go in the back. You know, you have to have an adult with you, and
Yes, to hold you in.
yes,
Right. And if I remember correctly, when it opened, that was part of its bragging rights, is it was the longest flume drop in the world at that time.
yes,
It was back in summer of '89. Um,
right,
and Disney, the crazy thing about when that happened and when that opened too is that Disney was never about like record breaking rides and stuff. I feel like that is more of like a Six Flags kind of thing, where it's
right.
oh, the most inversions and stuff like that, which is great. I love Six Flags too, but that was kind of crazy when they were first opening the ride and marketing it and talking about the longest flume ride in the world. And yeah, yeah. I For me, the start of that memory was again, this shows the age difference, is that I was actually working at Disney the summer it opened, and I got to go on it before it opened to the public, and that was a thrill because again, I grew up around Disneyland. That's always been my home park, and when they started building this monstrosity, out of nothing. I mean, there was nothing there in old, Bear Country, and all of a sudden, here comes this ride that literally goes all the way into the river, all the way back to the back of Bear Country and behind backstage where we couldn't see. Um,
Right.
and I just literally remember I had my annual pass back then, and I was going, every week and taking the pictures of every bit of the construction. And it just, as a teenager, I mean, it seemed like it was taking absolutely forever, you know.
Of
But
course.
yeah, what do you think about getting to be there the last day it was open? So I was there, we'll say on the first day or even the
Opening
pre-day,
day.
and you were there on the last day. So it's like we've got like a full circle here.
I think it's still kind of surreal. It doesn't feel like it's closed. I feel like I could get up and go and just get on it, but it's gone. It's it, it's an iconic ride. It's you know what I mean. That's my son's favorite ride. It's my favorite ride. It's something that we bonded with. It's just crazy to think that I will never ride that ride again. Even though it's gonna reopen,
Yes.
retheme, we'll never
Yes.
go on that specific ride again.
Right.
The music was very jolly and it's just
Of
it's a
course.
very
It was so
sad
catchy between
feeling.
Zippity Doo Dah, of course, and you had Laughing Place. I
How
mean,
do you do?
how do you do? The song
Hmm.
with the scared rabbits was a little bit of a downer, right
Right.
before the vultures. That
Yeah.
song was catchy, but the rest of it was
But
great.
you see that added so much to that drop.
Yeah. Big,
You know
big
what I mean?
time.
Especially as a kid.
Of course. I mean, it set the scene. Do you, just out of curiosity to nerd out, do you know the history of like where all those animatronics came from?
Yeah, from the man, that one show, the Rivers of America, right? Or
America Sings.
not the Rivers of America. Yeah, sorry, America Sings. They had nothing to do with them, and then that's why there was so many more here than there was at Disney World.
Now, see, that's interesting because I never got to I never got on the one in Disney World. I was there, let's see, I was there with my daughters in 2012, which was the last time I was at Disney World. Um, it was open, but I don't think we did it because I think it's like, we've been on the one in California. Do we really need to go on this one? So I never rode the one in Disney World in Orlando, and now it's gone. So I mean, whoops.
You were missing out.
I wasn't.
The No, not at all. The one here was significantly better.
Yeah. And you
I
said
that's why I felt like the one over there should have been closed and the one here should have changed.
maybe subconsciously that's why that one closed first, right?
Yeah, true. Yeah,
Yeah.
they had so many animatronics down, so many of the ride features that just didn't work anymore. It was kind of like a ride that was falling apart out there.
It's interesting you say that because I'm not getting in the parks as much as I used to, but um, a lot of people said the same thing about Anaheim. A lot of people were complaining, I'd say in the last 5 years, that they were just kind of letting Splash Mountain go. And every time you go in, the blogs would be, bitching about, well, this many characters weren't working and this many lights and whatever, whatever. But what would I mean? Because you're the only one in this conversation that can compare the two. What do you think about that?
I agree. You know, the 30-year anniversary happened in 2019,
Yeah.
and then the next year was when they announced they were going to close it. So I feel like maybe they were going to do something with it, but then they just announced its closure. So why would they even bother upgrading? The
Right.
one in Orlando, the first time I went to Disney World was in 2018. That one was already bad.
Mm.
It, I think I went on it a few times. Every time I went on it, it broke down. There's a lot of like dark scenes with nothing, just darkness. A lot of the animatronics down. So
Mm.
that one seemed like it was already on its last legs.
And you said that it seemed like there was less scenes or less characters in it.
Much less, a lot
Really?
less.
Oh
It,
wow.
did you go on Small World out there?
Yes, yes. And that
Did
one,
you?
if I'm remembering correctly, that's the one where it's just like a Fantasyland ride, almost like Peter Pan. It's just like in a building, like without
Yes,
the whole facade like Anaheim has, right?
right. So
Yeah,
you know how that one's kind of watered down compared to the one,
kinda.
right? So
It's awful.
that's how I felt about Splash Mountain.
Because
And
if I remember correctly, in Florida, you walk into Small World and then it's just a painting on the wall, and then you get in the boat.
yes, it's
Yeah.
just you just walk into a building and yeah,
Right.
that's
There are
more of
things
a regular
like,
ride.
yeah. I mean, we could get in. That's an idea for a future episode. It's talking about the pluses and minuses of the parks, but that's a great comparison to help me because again, I haven't been on the one in Florida, but I do
Yeah,
get
the music,
all versions are not equal. We'll put it that way.
the music was also different. So the
For
music, yeah, for Splash Mountain, the soundtrack out there was more of a country version of the music. So
interesting.
it was a little weird. They should have just stuck with the originals.
See
That's another
now,
thing I really didn't like.
okay. Did it feel like, when you walk around Critter Country, they've got that background music that's, kind of hokey country? Did it feel like
That
that
that's
in,
exactly how it
in the
was.
ride?
But in the ride, yeah.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. See, I like it as like a theming element like in the land of Critter Country, but it's interesting that yeah, you didn't like it in the ride. Wow.
Yeah, it just felt like it didn't go. Like
So
it seemed forced to try to do something a little different than Disneyland.
yeah, yeah. Well, speaking of forests, I mean, did you have you've heard the rumors how they're gonna completely change the whole area now when they redo the splash in Florida to make
Right,
to try and
right.
remake New Orleans now?
That they're gonna add the Tiana's place, the restaurant, and all that, right?
Stop the insanity. Like New Orleans Square in Anaheim was
Like,
special to Walt.
right,
It was his feeling, it was his visiting there that said, I want a piece of this to recreate. And it tied in pirates because,
right,
again, of all of the mystique of, Louisiana and New Orleans. And first out the gate, pirates is not in that area. Pirates is in Adventureland in
right.
and actually also in Paris. It's also in a different land. But now all of a sudden you're going to change this for the new Tiana. Oh, come on, man. Like
I feel like it's a very forced move,
it
and that's
really, yeah. I
and that,
we work for a huge music brand, hip hop brand, multi-ethnic brand. This has nothing to do with not wanting inclusion in the parks, but the way that they're doing,
right.
well, speaking for myself, maybe you don't like it, but but for it's not about let's not be inclusive,
Not
like,
at all.
but stop over forcing. Yeah, I think it's too much.
You're removing history, you're altering history to try to force a new character, a new theme,
Yeah,
and it's
yeah.
too much. They could have built that. Why didn't they take away Winnie the Pooh? There's so many more rides that could be replaced or pieces of the land that can be replaced, and it just
Which
doesn't make sense.
right, which is a whole story onto its own too. Because of course I remember when they added Winnie the Pooh, and they literally took out two giant theaters of Country Bear Jamboree, which could seat tons of people, and it was a fun show that updated 3 times a year for Christmas and the summer hoedown and all that, the vacation
All
hoedown.
right.
Um, and then it was like, oh, but wait a minute, Winnie the Pooh sells a lot of merch, so put in a Pooh ride and blow out all the rest of that. And
Yeah.
now, is there ever a line for that Pooh ride? No. Um,
Nope.
but the candy store at the end of Winnie the Pooh is pretty good.
The little hidden gem there.
Oh
Nobody
my
knows.
god, those
Like
chocolate
nobody knows about it.
dip pretzels. What are you talking about? Those are amazing.
Yep.
So tell me about the like. I mean, again, I have tons of footage and ride pics of Splash from over the years. I was not there on the final day. I've got a little bit of FOMO. My best friend was there with his family the day before the last day. You were there on the last day, so just like set the scene. Like, tell me the story of the last day of Splash Mountain.
It was chaos. Chaos all through the park. You can see people either they were coming from there or they were going to the land. And just even, once you get to Adventureland, it's already jam packed. I had never seen a line this long for any ride at Disneyland. And I had mentioned that, the original line, how it like lines up next to the ride. So they zigzagged it. So you're cutting halfway into the walkway of going to splash over that bridge,
Yes,
and it extended all the way to Haunted Mansion.
yes,
I had never seen that before.
right.
And you just had a bunch of people wearing their merch. I saw people brought their plush, like the Brer Bear and Rabbit and Fox plush, and
Yeah.
it you could tell that there was a lot of love for the ride there.
Uh-huh.
It was great. It felt like you were amongst fans,
Yeah.
like we were all there to celebrate one last time. And it sucks to because it's such a long line. You can only ride it once.
Yeah, right.
And I actually I told my son because he had never sat in the front. I told him I was like, "This is the last time you're gonna ride it, so make sure we get that good picture." Because he was always kind of afraid to put his hands up. He would kind of like, eh.
Okay. And how old is he?
He's 10.
10. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, but it's just it was one of those things where like while we were in line, this is the last time. Kind of felt surreal,
Yeah.
especially because it's down the street. I have a pass. I can really go whenever, and
Right.
now it's gone.
Now it's gone. Oh,
Crazy.
so crazy. And so for it being the last time, like what was the vibe with the cast and what was like the vibe like in the logs and like did you have like a really fun group or
So the cast at first, because I went on towards the nighttime, I kind of uh finessed it a little bit because I knew that at night the lightning lanes kind of add a lot of the line, a lot of the wait time. So we got in line like around 9:15.
ooh,
It was a projected 4 hour wait. The park closed at 11. So we got on at like 11:15. Once 11 hit, we noticed the cast members kind of started picking it up, like they were trying to get people on in and out. When we made it to the front, the first thing we see is, when people get out, because we don't have the lap bars here. It's just the single rider. People come out and their feet kick out a bunch of water. We sit down,
right.
we sit in the log. Our feet are The water level inside the log is up to my ankles. Normally,
So
they'll
so you're saying that from the nonstop running of the ride, the logs were like waterlogged, like
all the way up to I kid you not, all the way up to my ankles. So
wow.
instantly, yeah, because normally they would stop the ride and take the log that got an excessive water in it and, either
Right.
move it aside or drain it.
But they're on like do or die, like it's like no
Yeah,
stopping.
that the ride shuts down quite a bit. So for it to, be constantly running, I knew that they were just kind of let's go.
Sure.
So, but for us, we were just like, screw it. Last time. This is the one where you want to get drenched. You want to,
Right.
um, so yeah, it was just myself, my son, my cousin, and my girlfriend. So it was just us four. We didn't get
Right.
anybody else back. So we were singing throughout the ride. My son and myself, we know the music. That the second drop is the one that gets you really, really drenched, and my son really took it face on, and he
Well, he was
he
he
got
was the front seat, he was the windshield.
he got soaked, and yeah, it was great, and then because the logs were already sinking in, that
Yeah.
allowed for more water to come over the
Yes.
log and come in, and if your legs are always kind of touching the sides of the logs, so when that water comes over,
It right. It literally goes right on the sides. Oh, of course. I mean, I'm a big guy too. So always I would, you know, be taking up the most real estate in the log. So the water is going to get me, of course.
yes,
And it rolls
your leg
right over the side and in right on your legs. Of course.
right on your legs. So for me, I was wearing I was wearing shorts. I was wearing some gray shorts, and instantly they turned from gray to charcoal
Yeah.
on that first drop. Just every single time that even like that, like that small little drop that it does inside,
Yes, of
even that
course.
one had water just pouring into the log.
Right. Well, that was one of the very interesting things, like, over the years too, of just seeing like how because like when the ride opened like 6 months late, 6, 7 months late, behind
Right.
schedule because they could not get the water right and the logs, and it was too much, and then it was too little, and but I remember still over 30 years riding that ride, and there were times where it was just, it still was too much. And
Yeah.
I would like, out negotiate my daughters of saying like, we don't have a hotel room. We don't have an hour to go change and dry off and whatever, whatever. I'm not doing it because I don't want to be uncomfortable the rest of the day. I mean, again, I
Right.
fully love the ride, but practical dad would step in sometimes and talk about, like, it still sometimes was too much water for me.
Oh
Yes.
yeah. And see that that's a big difference with the one at Disneyland and the one at Disney World. The one at Disney World, I feel like you don't get wet.
Well,
You
that
don't
was
really.
also a different design, right? Because they wanted bigger capacity. They were double wide
Right.
logs.
Exactly. Yeah.
So
But
that might have
those
had something to
logs
do with it.
in the front of the log, it kind of seems like it has a little bit of a barrier that blocks the water from coming into the log. As
Yeah.
where the ones here, it's just flat. It'll come right in.
Oh, it sure
So
did.
that's another thing that I remember is the one out there. I didn't really get too wet, and the one here, if you're
Right.
sitting first three rows, you're getting wet for sure.
Right. Oh, man. Well, I'm really glad that you got to be there for the last day, and
My,
talk about it and share some of your footage, of it as well, which was great. Um, I mean, of course, we talked about it a little bit, but like on a 1 to 10, like what is your excitement level for the replacement that's coming?
honestly,
Of course.
uh, I don't really care for it.
But give me a number on a scale of 1 to 10.
Maybe like a 4.
Or
I
yeah.
think I think it's gonna be like a projection fest. I think they're just gonna add a bunch of projections in there, and I don't know. I feel like
I
they're
don't
gonna
know
kind
what
of
I
gut,
yeah.
gut what we love about the ride, you know?
I don't know what to expect, to be honest, because I don't feel that I don't feel that the marketing they've put out so far has been very compelling, and it could be amazing, but
Could be.
I feel like the past 5 years or so, like Disney has been guilty sometimes of a little overselling and under delivering, which is the worst thing you could do.
That's the thing too. I think that's another reason why I'm not as excited because I went to D23 and I saw the model and it doesn't like they're not really giving us anything. They're just showing us the exterior. They're showing us that they're replacing, like for example, they're supposed to replace the logs at the top of the mountain.
Correct.
The
Well,
you
I
know
mean, it's pretty much a guarantee that's going to happen because you see Florida, that's already gone. Florida's the Chickapin Hill is already gone.
yeah.
Well, I think
So
they're following through on that for sure, I guess, to make it look different.
yeah, aren't they're
But they
supposed
told us that the boat was going to be on the top, and that's not happening now.
it's not.
The first, okay,
Right,
the
I remember that.
first footage, and maybe I can throw a shot of it up here, but the first footage showed the boat was on top of the hill, but that
Right.
was the teaser stuff, like way in the beginning.
So that's not happening.
No, no, I don't think so.
Oh, oh.
I think the most recent art just shows that it's like a mound, and then to the side there's like that water tower now telling you that it's her ride or something. But like, sometimes the art, goes downhill a little bit.
Yeah. See, the perfect point. The overselling.
Yeah.
And what aren't they turning the Hungry Bear into something Tiana also to match the ride?
No, well, they took out French Market to be a Tiana restaurant. I don't know what
I didn't know that.
Winnie the Pooh or any of the rest of that's going to make sense now. Because
It doesn't.
are they just going to make Tiana now a part of New Orleans Square, and then Critter Country is just on the other side of the little river there? Or I don't know. I don't know. Well, I mean, we'll all be surprised, I guess, because they haven't told us that.
Right.
But Disney nerds need to know.
Yeah. Yeah.
Speaking of Disney nerd, you asked about my shirt. This is a
Right.
they didn't make enough 50th anniversary Main Street Electrical Parade shirts. So I had to buy a knockoff. You lost 50 bucks on me, Disney, because you didn't make enough. And then they also customized it there with the little dad lettering. So my son has a matching one too. So
That's nice. It
yeah,
looks original to me.
I know. I wish I still had my Splash merch from. Yeah, I went through a phase after working for Disney and just too many years and too many things. So I just don't really have any of my stuff that I used to have. I mean, God, I had amazing stuff back then, but
That's
no.
one of the things that I was doing. That's one of the things that I was doing last night was I was looking around because I haven't waited in that queue in such a long time. Usually when I would go on that ride, I would go on at nighttime specifically because of what you said. You don't want to walk around uncomfortable,
Right,
boxers wet, shorts wet. So usually I would go on at night, even if it was cold. At least I'm going straight home after.
right, right,
Um, so I hadn't waited in that queue, and I was looking around to see, what props there were, like there's some portraits of Brer Rabbit
right,
because I know
right,
usually they'll like auction that stuff off. So I'm kind of curious
right.
to see what they do.
One of the blogs said, well, I hope that the thing I really am going to miss too is that giant statue of the three of them that's in the back, like just before you go up the stairs to the ride. Like that is such a piece of art.
Yeah,
Hopefully they'll put it that someplace backstage or have some hidden thing for it. Like for example, like if you go backstage in California, all of the bug statues from Bugs Land are backstage, like just hanging out like in the parking area and stuff. So they kept them. I mean, the regular public doesn't see it, but
right.
we've had the chance to do some broadcasts and stuff over the years, so we get to see some of that stuff. I mean, this piece of art from Splash Mountain, like that better go somewhere cool, you know?
Yeah, there's certain things, and I know at Disney World they have the sign with Brer Rabbit sticking out of the sign, and it says Splash Mountain. That's
Yeah,
one of the pieces that I also would like to see be, still somewhere.
right. Well, the wonderful thing I would say about that as well is that, we're in 2023 now, Quest, and you don't have to wait for Disney anymore. Meaning, just like this shirt, like everybody makes stuff now. So, like, if you want the Splash Mountain logo from 1989 or the one from Disney World, or when they changed it to do this and that, whatever, somebody can make that into a sticker for you. Somebody can make that
100%.
into a shirt for you.
Yeah, when it was first announced that it was closing down, I think this was still during the pandemic. I had actually found a lot of people making like replica signs, like
Gosh.
or like props, like the "You May Get Wet" uh famous
Yes. Yes.
sign, or like the 50-foot plunge ahead. I saw a lot of people making like replicas, 3D printing. So you're
Right.
right. You don't even have to wait for, an auction but I would love to own something, just something that was there, you know?
Of course. I think again, I have like I'll show you this picture right here. Like this is my one Disney wall in the house, this Alice wall, which you can see right here. And like that's all I've got in the house anymore. Like my whole house used to be production cells and things from the park and all the and I don't know. Like I get excited and I get the FOMO for when Splash Mountain's closing, but I don't want any more stuff. Uh,
Yeah.
but I totally get that you do, and you're still right there. You still live like right down the street, so it's cool.
Yeah. Hopefully, like I said, there's some sort of an auction, or I know, at least from what I heard of, I know that they offered certain things to cast members first, or they auctioned them off first. So
Some
hopefully something
back in the
will come out.
day, they had like Company D, which was the employee store, and if they had like overages, but like At the moment that that ride closed, there was nothing. There wasn't a T-shirt. There was the only thing left. People said were the pressed coins, the pressed pennies was the only thing left you could get made that said Splash Mountain on the closing of the day, which is also a missed merchandise opportunity, Disney. But I mean, whatever, they got enough money.
That's actually funny because I noticed that last night. That coin machine was gone.
Oh, now that
And
was gone too.
what was that?
So it was sold out. That was gone by the last moment too.
It was gone. The machine was completely not there. When
Wow. They
I
must
went to
have they must have run out of supplies or something.
right. I went to Disney World earlier this year after the ride closed, and their machine was still there.
Interesting.
So I pressed up some coins while I was out there.
Right. I think there were definitely was a bigger outcry in Anaheim, though.
It's the original. It's the
That's,
first.
of course. All right. Quest, thank you for joining our episode here talking about the closing of Splash Mountain.
Thank you for having me,
Closing
brother.
of the original Splash Mountain, the best Splash Mountain, the one that like we touched, we were there at the beginning and
Yeah.
um
Now we got to go to Japan.
I know right. We better set up a trip. All right. Thank you guys so much for watching. It is J. Rye World on YouTube and also J. Rye World Disney for those specific Disney episodes. Thank you so much for watching. Like, subscribe, and Quest. I will see you again. Thanks, brother.
Thank you.
See ya.